The world of video games may have now evolved far beyond the simple 2 paddles and a ball days of Pong, but who could have guessed they'd eventually be assisting the likes of surgeons, architects, physical therapists, and military personnel? With advancing technology, gaming has become something far more than just a hobby. No matter which way you look at it, it's far from the toxic disease that some media outlets try to portray it as. In the past couple of decades, many development teams have realised that all kinds of aspects of gameplay, such as learning through repetition and developing hand-eye coordination, actually have a whole host of real-world applications. In all kinds of fields, ranging through art and design, physical and mental health, and workplace training, video games are genuinely helping to make the world a better place and advance human achievement, which makes all the undue bad press even more frustrating. And so it's with this in mind that we think it's about time we highlighted some of the amazing ways in which video games actually help the world IRL. I'm Peter from Triple Jump, and here are 10 ingenious real-world uses for video games. Number 10. The PS3 Military Supercomputer. Okay, admittedly we are starting with a military supercomputer, but bear with me, okay? With the PlayStation 2 becoming one of the world's most successful consoles, developers and consumers had high expectations for its successor, the PS3. In an attempt to match the lofty anticipation, the designers aimed to make the PlayStation 3 the most powerful console possible. After much innovation, the resulting product piqued the interest of both astrophysicists and military researchers alike. Not only was the performance extraordinary, but the energy efficiency was downright shocking. With a PS3 on full load, a mere 100 watts of power would be consumed, whereas at the time, a comparable Xeon-class dual-socket type server would easily chug through about a kilowatt's worth of juice. The US Air Force took one look at these stats and consequently decided to string 1,760 of these bad boys together in order to create their own supercomputer, the Condor Cluster. The resulting system consumed a measly 10% of the power expected for such a juggernaut, and also cost less than 10% of an equivalent HPC system. Ironically though, this was probably the first and last time that the PlayStation 3 was praised for its affordability. Number 9. Physical therapy. Nintendo isn't afraid to challenge the notion that gamers are often portrayed as lazy beings who have long since fostered a symbiotic bond with their Cheeto-encrusted sweatpants. And in 2007, the Wii Fit set the standard for combining a positive fitness experience with the often sedentary medium of gaming. Although many of us use gaming to relax after a hard day's work, others were able to use the plethora of exciting games to bring fitness into their homes and combine it with fun. But the applications didn't just end in the living room. For instance, the Nintendo Wii and Wii Fit were used in a study released by Johns Hopkins University researchers, during which 22 patients in intensive care used the video game systems as part of their physical therapy sessions. Essentially, gaming promotes repetition and task-oriented training, which are the exact requirements needed to support rehabilitation goals. The studies showed that engaging in gameplay or fun minigames helped patients to forget that they were actually working and allowed them to gain more enjoyment from their therapy sessions. These days, it's not uncommon to see Wii consoles in retirement homes either. Just don't expect grandma to go easy on you when playing Wii boxing. Oh, she's got a mean right hook. Number 8. Minecraft architecture. The United Nations Human Settlements Programme posed that a central public place promotes social interaction, the enhanced safety of citizens, more business opportunities, as well as other benefits to the well-being of city inhabitants. However, designing such areas has never been easy, especially when considering that old cities often have confusing layouts, mixed architecture, low budgets, or crossovers between districts. After encountering such issues, the UN reached out to Mojang to launch the Block by Block initiative, wherein designers were tasked with recreating and redesigning a public space within Minecraft. Successful designs were then transferred to real architects before being made into reality. Notable projects have included the design of safe parks in Johannesburg, creating the Lotus Garden playground in Mumbai, establishing safer streets for young women in Hanoi, and crowdsourcing for welcome public spaces in Mexico. In essence, the project aimed to transform lives and revitalize urban neighborhoods via the use of Minecraft, described as a powerful tool for visualization and collaboration. Of course, seasoned Minecraft builders are all too familiar with developing creations in spite of space restrictions and wild terrain, but these real-world project parameters cultivated a range of amazingly intuitive designs from local communities, and not a single giant phallus in sight. Oh, good job, team. Good job. Number 7. Promoting blood donation. If you're as much of a trophy hunter as our resident pro gamer Ben Potter, you're probably well aware that it takes a lot of blood, sweat and tears to reach such levels of gaming prowess. However, for Bandai Namco, pledging metaphorical bodily fluids on the altar of gaming was simply not enough. They wanted the real thing. Quite literally, they were baying for blood. During the 2019 TwitchCon weekend in San Diego, Bandai Namco hosted a blood drive in conjunction with the American Red Cross, literally offering a free copy of Code Vein for those who, well, agreed to open a vein for a good cause. According to the American Red Cross, someone is in need of blood every 2 seconds, with each donation possibly helping up to 3 people. And seeing as the TwitchCon donations were fully booked, Code Vein surely managed to help hundreds, if not thousands, of those in need of urgent transfusions. Table Manners promoted a similar cause in February 2020, during which they teamed up with NHS England to encourage players to sign up to their blood and transplant campaign. We're just thankful that the donation process wasn't as messy as the actual in-game dates. That is red wine, isn't it? Number 6. Studying viral outbreaks. Before the days of the C virus outbreak, if you can think that far back, memories, scientists studied an infamous epidemic that plagued the lands of World of Warcraft back in 2005. The Corrupted Blood incident occurred when a negative status effect accidentally leaked from a new raid boss into the general populace. High-level players were healed of the contagious effect upon leaving the dungeon as per the design of the encounter, but a small oversight meant that rangers' pets could carry the disease out into the overworld to other players and even NPCs. Lower level players were completely struck down, skeletons began to pile up at social areas, and unsuspecting gamers proceeded to spread the disease from city to city as they completed their quests. Soon, many of these stronger players were forced to quarantine infected areas, while others sought to spread warnings and advice to the community. Many healers exposed themselves to the plague and entered the quarantined zones in an attempt to heal others, or at least keep them alive long enough to get them to safety. The conditions, reactions, and consequences of this event attracted the attention of the CDC, who used it to study how human populations react to real-world epidemics. Now, some of those researchers are using the data collected from this event to tackle COVID-19, with many stating that even though the difference between the real pandemic and a video game are resoundingly obvious, there are definite lessons to be learned from the online outbreak. I just wonder whether social distancing is still in place in Azeroth. Number 5. Police training simulations. Most first-person shooters reward the player for firing first and asking questions later, but this doesn't exactly translate well to sensitive real-life situations. For that reason, a company called Vertra has created specialized simulations for law enforcement officers to practice and review their actions in tense, uncertain circumstances. These simulated scenarios incorporate branching narratives that respond to the trainees' decisions, much like Telltale's The Walking Dead, but with far fewer Zombies, or Detroit Become Human, but with far less
Lieutenant, would you like me to lick it?
The simulations, often experienced in VR, are designed to teach critical concepts such as identifying verbal and non-verbal cues, de-escalation, less lethal alternatives, and appropriate use of force. The VR versions of these scenarios require the officers to use real weapons that fire fake bullets, complete with recoil effect. A series of sensors are used to determine where the shots land, and when the trainee is shot, electrodes on their body will administer a shock to signify receiving damage. As with all video games, this training tool helps to develop muscle memory and hand-eye coordination, but it's the cultivation of fair and effective combat responses that truly elevate these simulations from mere games to something that could potentially save lives. Number 4. Applications in surgery. Aside from all those times we've slipped and accidentally severed an artery in Surgeon Simulator, it turns out that video games actually help to cultivate better surgeons. Studies of small incision specialists found that those who played video games for more than 3 hours per week made 32% fewer errors during practice procedures. Many doctors have noticed correlations between video game playing and improved dexterity, which is of course an essential skill when conducting tasks that require high levels of accuracy and precision with a blade around someone's vital organs. In the example of keyhole surgery, where all the action is going on inside the body of the patient, overseen by a camera, you must focus your eyes on a screen rather than on what your fingers and thumbs are doing to make things happen on that screen. Sound familiar, gamers? The company Level X certainly thought so, because they now develop training games and simulations for surgeons and doctors that replicate real-life emergencies. A study propelled by doctor and gamer James Rosser highlights the significant link between surgical skill and video game prowess. He first noticed it during his training years. His non-gamer classmates seemingly had more trouble with developing refined surgical skill than he did. So, with the video game hobby proving to be such an advantage for those training in this field and ultimately saving lives, maybe it's about time our avid gamers in the medical industry, some of whom might be watching this video right now, hello, got a little more credit, don't you think? Number 3. Protein folding. Do you even fold, bro? I fold and chug protein at least 5 times a week. Don't worry, my fellow quarantined gamer geeks, this has nothing to do with horrible protein shakes or nauseating gym routines. Actually, the Folding at Home project and the Fold It game provide protein folding puzzles to gather the necessary data required to fight numerous forms of disease. Players can really get their teeth into the fun and interesting gameplay format, thereby establishing a range of new enzyme bonds, with the most efficient bonds scoring the highest points. And forget Candy Crush or Farmville, because these fascinating folding games don't have any microtransactions. Okay, I was just ad-libbing there. I mean, they don't, but it actually says, these fascinating folding games could actually lead to cures and treatments for diseases such as Alzheimer's, Huntington's, cystic fibrosis, and many forms of cancer, all of which are believed to result from protein misfolding. My god, gamers are the best! High-scoring solutions in these folding games can be further inspected by researchers, who can determine whether they can be applied to relevant proteins in the real world. In fact, a 2010 paper in science journal Nature credited Fold It's players with providing results that not only matched, but outperformed algorithmically computed equivalents. So, for gamers who are bored of the salt-heavy environment of Call of Duty, maybe try a bit of protein in your gaming diet instead. Number 2. Training astronauts. A few hundred hours in Mass Effect will teach you 2 things. Number 1, blue aliens are your new favourite search topic on DeviantArt, and number 2, space is a big and dangerous place. Although there are innumerable people supporting and guiding astronauts from Earth, the further that space men or women venture, the longer the latency period between communications. In fact, deep space exploration may cause comms delays of more than 30 minutes, which is far too long should an emergency situation arise. So, Trish, the developer of new training procedures for NASA, not the leather-clad badass from Devil May Cry, is adopting the most advanced technology technologies to address the future challenges of deep space exploration. They've adapted the surgery simulation technology by Level X to lay the foundation for essential medical training as well as crisis management. Essentially, these simulations aim to combine video game technology and professional medical sim applications in order to explore the environmental conditions found in space. As we can't truly replicate deep space conditions here on Earth, these training games can help astronauts to prepare for dangerous or uncertain situations, especially combined with underwater VR experiences that mirror low gravity. God, if only NASA had had this technology in 1969, they wouldn't have had to use a Stanley Kubrick film set for the moon landings. And number 1, mental well-being and destigmatization. As development becomes more accessible and diverse, the narrative capabilities of video games are continuing to evolve, with many new releases seeking to explore heavy and provocative topics, some of which might feel quite familiar to those picking up the controller. Sea of Solitude, Hellblade, and Night in the Woods have delved into aspects such as self-identity, anger, PTSD, depression, psychosis, and anxiety, depicting the often torturous and world-shattering emotions experienced by those suffering with mental illness. The benefits of the existence of games like this are twofold. Firstly, they can help sufferers with communication and expression by portraying conditions that are often quite difficult to put into words. Whether we've experienced these things ourselves or simply know someone else suffering with mental illness, these games certainly hit hard and therefore encourage discussion of the topics. Secondly, the gravity of these games also encourages empathy and shows sufferers and non-sufferers alike that it's okay to not be okay, thereby contributing to the destigmatization of mental illness as a whole. These touching video games help to remind us that we aren't alone in feeling how we do, and that there are helpful communities and services out there for those who need it, links to which you can find in the video description below. No jokes here for this one, just the recognition of some amazing games that have such powerful messages. So there you go, that's our list of ways in which video games have helped the world in real life. But do you know of any more altruistic or ingenious ways that gaming is being used in other industries? Perhaps you have some ideas of your own of how gaming technology can help in the future. Share the positivity and inspire us in the comments below. You can follow myself and Triple Jump on Twitter here, and if you want to support the things you enjoy, then check out the rewards on our Patreon. Finally, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. I've been Peter from Triple Jump, and thanks for watching.